Okay, we're rolling. So, welcome to my general review of the Fiido T1 cargo bike. So I have this bike just less than a week now, and it's been really great, I have to say. So I've previously done a review on the battery and the traction and power and all that stuff. So I'm not going to get into that at length here. I want to do a general review. So here's the bike. Let me give you some figures first. I've weighed the bike. The bike weighs 79 pounds with the battery, and without the battery it's only 66 pounds. You've got a very, very heavy battery here in the center, and the saddle comes up here like this to pull out the battery. I think it's fairly heavy, but it's for an e-bike, but not the heaviest, but fairly heavy, largely due to the battery. But it handles very, very well because you've got mag wheels and so on, and it's really lively and very, very comfortable to drive and all of the rest of it. Okay, so it's available, I think, only in this colour, and they all come with this wood thing here at the rear. Put on the saddle here myself. This is a Saddle Royale saddle that you can buy on Amazon for, I think, €40. I think I got it. And all these bikes tilt in order to get the battery out. Okay, so let's go bumper to bumper, as it were, from front to back and show you everything. So first, let's have a look at these tires and the wheels. The mag wheels, they're solid. I weighed these wheels, the wheel and the tire and everything on the front wheel before I put it on. Weighs 2.5 kilos, that's 5.5 pounds. So it's actually very light, really. It's not, I was worried about the weight of the mag wheels, but they don't seem heavy at all. In fact, they're very sturdy and they're very, very nice. You've got disc brakes. They're 180mm brakes, but they're cable brakes. And here are the cable. They work okay, they squeal a bit, they're very, very powerful actually. I suppose they're going to bed in over time. I only have this bike, I think, less than a week now, so I don't have much mileage on it as yet. Looking at the tyres themselves, these are slicks. They're actually very nice, but curious thing about them is they have very, very shallow tread. I would have expected on a brand new tyre the tread might be at maybe 2mm high or maybe 3mm high. They look to be only about 1mm high out of the box. So they might not last long, I don't really know. But they're very attractive looking. I only normally operate on the roads, so I don't go off-road or dirt tracks or anything like that. So I'm not worried about anything else. They are supposed to be pumped to a maximum of 30 psi. I keep them just above 25. So far so good. The tyres, they do look nice, I have to say. You've got lovely suspension here, and I should compare it to the MX-02, this bike here, made by Shengmilo. It's been a fantastic bike, but there's a lot of things about this T1 bike that's actually better, or quite a few things that are better, in fact. So one of those things that are better is the suspension, the front suspension here, and it's really, really soft. It's beautiful when you press down on it, and very, very smooth. Much better, I think, than the other bike there. So you also have these really nice mud guards. It comes with these. They're lovely looking mud guards. They're plastic. In my opinion, they should be a little bit longer. I'd like them down to here for the wet weather or whatever. But anyway, it is what it is. They're so much better anyway than no mud guards at all. So let's see. It also comes with this basket, very, very sturdy basket that you fit on with these 4 screws here, and it's really, really good, I have to say. It's very useful, I find it. The basket itself isn't that big, but it's good enough if you come out of a supermarket, for example. You can put a fairly heavy single bag of shopping groceries there. It can take a lot of weight. It's also very useful for hanging things on. The other day I had a rucksack hanging on here at the side, and I had a journey to do across town, and it was actually quite good. So you can hang things out of it. For example, you could take this bag here that I've added for, it might be used for tools or something like that, and you could suspend it maybe there in the front just over the lamp, for example, and make a home of it. Or you could put it you could strap them in underneath the thing here as well if you want to, underneath the basket. So there's a lot you can do with this basket. There's a lot of things you can hang brackets out of it for mounting things, anything at all. So it's actually a very, very useful item, I think, not just simply to immediately carry goods. About this light, this bike comes with this amazing light, and if I come around here, the sun is shining behind me, so it's a huge light, and you're not going to see the effects of it now because you have sunshine through the house and in the daylight, but nonetheless I'll put it on. It comes on with the backlight, and let's have a look. We'll try and see that. So to turn on the bike, you've got this key here, and it works like an ignition on your car. You have the first turn, sorry, 2 turns, yeah. So the first turn physically locks the battery with the bolt going through, the deadlock, and the second one is the actual ignition as such. So the key has to be left in, and it comes with 2 keys. That's okay. So to turn it on, display, you hold the button for a few seconds, and up it comes, and there is the light. So that same button is used to turn off and on the light. And as you can see, the front light, it has you can see it there on the wall, you have a full beam and a dip. Okay, you don't see it that well because it's really bright daylight now, but it's really quite amazing, I have to say. Yeah, although I haven't tried it in the full darkness at night, but it's a very, very bright light, and it lights up really spectacularly. Yeah. Meantime, when you turn on that light, you also have the light at the back, which is very, very big, and let's see it, and it's really big, bright, very, very bright light. And again, now you're seeing it in broad daylight, very bright daylight, but it works really well. Yeah, and it's good to have it. Okay, it's not a brake light, unfortunately, but it is a very, very bright light. Yeah. Okay, so knock off that, and the power. Okay, so what else? Now, so that's the basket, the headlights, the front. Now you have brakes. As I say, the brake levers are nice, it's comfortable, good brakes for cable brakes. I'm not really pushed on hydraulic brakes. There's a lot of maintenance involved. These cable brakes work very, very well. They're probably the best cable brakes bike I've ever had. But at the moment they're squealing a bit. Incidentally, the brake calipers here, they actually use round pads, 2.1 centimeters, disc circular pads, as opposed to rectangular ones. Not that hard to get, but just not so common. Okay, so you have these lovely handlebars. Now, I think they're fabulous, and they really characterize the bike, in my opinion. The main memory you have of walking away from the bike after riding it is these positions, these amazing handlebars. They're a bit wide. They're 71 centimeters tip to tip. They're quite wide. The MX-02 in there, that other bike, they have very narrow handlebars. They're 60 centimeters in width. So they're too narrow, in my opinion. These are probably a fraction too wide, but nonetheless, the angles of them and everything, they're really comfortable. They have lovely grips. These grips don't stay up that well, but they're okay. But they are very comfortable. They're lovely handlebars. Now, I've raised it up to, I put in the center stem here. So let me show you. The original center stem looked like this, and I took it out there yesterday. So this riser stem here has enabled me to raise up the handlebars by about, I don't know, 2 inches I suppose, and it's made a lot of difference. So I like a nice high position. I'm not leaning forward too much, and these are lovely handlebars. If I was going to keep that other bike, the MX-02, I would put those handlebars in it. In fact, that's the only thing that bike is actually lacking, in my view, are the high handlebars. Other than that, it's a really great bike. Okay, so the sensation on this bike when you're riding is really fast and light. Really terrific. And it's got 20-inch wheels, so it's smaller than the other bike, the 26. And it makes it just a bit handier, I suppose. And these are fat tires, as I say, even though they're slicks. And it's very, very comfortable with the suspension and what have you. Okay, on the right side, on the left side, you also have a horn here, which is very, very loud. It's really piercing. Oh, it's shocking actually, especially in indoors like here. So that's enough of that crap. Okay, on the other side, you've got a thumb throttle as opposed to a twist throttle. I don't mind it either way. The throttle in this bike is incredibly responsive, really responsive. And whether it responds to the pedal assist when you're pushing the pedals or you hit the throttle, it's really, really lively. So I normally use this throttle just to take off when I'm moving off from a footpath or something to get my balance, and after that I use the pedals. So it's not like I'm sitting there all the time with the throttle on and trying to hold it. That doesn't really arise. Incidentally, this throttle, if you do hold it down for a few seconds, it has a cruise control that automatically kicks in and it holds your cruise. And you can just simply disable that by hitting any of the brake levers. No problem, okay? The gears are Shimano 7-speed. You've got this central cog here, this central freewheel, and it's a 52-tooth chain wheel. It's pretty good. It's 7-speed Shimano cogs at the back. The standard stuff. And this is how it works. It works by these levers here. Get the other hand if I can. This one clicks it down and the other one inside here clicks it back up. Sometimes you can confuse them with the throttle if you're not watching what you're doing, but after a day or two you get used to it. So they work fine. They're standard stuff, average. I wouldn't really write home about them, but they're fine. So the bike is this lovely green colour. Now, in the middle here you've got this absence. It's a step-through bike, of course. It's very, very handy for getting on and off. And it's quite obviously based on the Radrunner Plus. A lot of people have said that. It kind of is. It's a cargo bike and all of that. So I've actually ordered, there's an item you can buy on the Radrunner site. This is the central console. And this is a big storage case here for actually adding stuff in, and it's got a kind of a strange looking top. So I've actually ordered one for this. I think I'm going to have to modify the box when it comes, because these holes here and here are slightly out of position, and the Radrunner box I'll have to drill 2 holes right beside it here and here to make it fit, but that's fine. Apart from that, I think it pretty much fits. I'll be fine. So I think it'll be a good addition to be able to throw stuff into for convenience and all of that. But of course, with that box you don't have the step-through feature that you do now, but that doesn't really worry me. It's still an easier bike to mount than that other Shimano in there, that big bike. It's still easier to get up and on and off of. Okay, so now you've got the battery, the saddle. This is not the original saddle. I put it on yesterday, and it's a very big cushion, springy affair, Italian made and all of that. It costs 40 euros, and I recommend them. They're available in black as well, the Seller Royale, and they're really good, available on Amazon. This is the original saddle here. I don't know if you can see that here. I'll try and put it up if we can. That's the original one, and it comes with these nice springs. It's really a nice saddle, but some people, myself included, have a little problem with it after a few miles. It's what I call a 1 hour saddle. It's okay on the saddle for the first hour, but after that it starts to get a little bit achy. It's a very, very nice saddle, and the problem for me is here. These plastic underbody of the saddle, just here and here, it's a bit wide in my view for my thighs. So what you could do actually, if you wanted to, if you're having the same problem, you could unscrew the underbody from the saddle and take a hacksaw, I think, and cut maybe, half an inch off here on each side, and that might make a lot of difference, just there and there. and then put the top part of the saddle back onto it, screw it on again. So it's not a big operation to do. I think that would be good. It would modify it nicely, and it would keep the whole saddle as it is now, because it is a nice saddle and it's got lovely springs and all. So, you know, give it a go if you find yourself with one of these bikes. It's these saddles, by the way, if you do like the look of the saddle, I think Fiido sells all the parts of this bike on their website. I think it's about €22, maybe 23 from what I can recall. So saddles are not that expensive, you know. Okay, I should also mention you have this lovely suspension, spring suspension in the seat post, and it goes up and down really beautiful. This is a very wide seat post. It's 34mm diameter, which is pretty wide, and it's really long. So it's got a fabulous suspension under it. Let me just see, can I demonstrate this maybe here by putting an elbow on it? There it is, and it's really smooth, much better than the ones you buy commercially normally. Now incidentally, this saddle post is actually available also from the Fiido website. I think it costs €37. It's a really long seat post, and it's got this tilting mechanism also, like so, to be able to get at the battery. So you get the whole mechanism with it for €37. So if anybody wants one of those, provided your diameter is right, it's 34mm diameter. So you could use it obviously in any bike. Okay, so then you have the battery, as I was saying. The battery, for those who haven't seen it, and I did another separate video on the battery. You have to unlock it and you slide it out like so. It comes right up this way and goes back in down. So the battery is very heavy. I've explained in the other video I did that it actually only does about 25 miles when you're driving at full throttle in PAS 3. Now I have a small correction to make with that, because since I made that video and put it up on YouTube, I've been riding around town in PAS 2, which is, this bike has 3 levels, PAS 1, 2 and 3. And since I've been doing that, I find that PAS 2 brings you up to about 20 miles per hour, 19 miles per hour maybe. And it's quite fast enough if you're just commuting and driving around town normally and stuff in traffic. So I'm going to try it for a few days on that and discharge it only driving in PAS 2 and not going near PAS 3, and see if that improves things with the battery. Okay. Now incidentally, I forgot to talk about the display. There were people earlier on who were complaining about the display on this bike, because there's only a new bike on the market. Let's turn it on again. They've obviously upgraded and improved it, because I have no problems whatever reading this display, even in broad daylight. It's fine. There's not much to see on this display, by the way, except the PAS levels. There you have PAS 1, 2 and 3. Okay. This bike here in Europe did actually come with the speed limit set to 25 kilometers. It only shows you the display in kilometers per hour. 25 kilometers is what the speed limit was set at. And I removed that very quickly, and now the speed limit is realistically about 25 miles. That's about 37, 38 kilometers per hour. So it's much faster. It goes plenty fast. That's not the main problem. The problem is the battery life, really, is what I'm finding. It's such an energetic bike. It's very hard on the battery. So I'm looking for ways to bring it down a bit to get more range out of the battery. Okay, so that's the display. Okay, so we knocked it off. Okay, so what else? So moving along the back, you have the Shimano back tires. Now the other problem the bike has is this tubing here is uniformly quite thick. It's about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch thick or something all around, and it's very difficult to find rucksacks, removable rucksacks that will fit on and hook in to these pipes here. I found one yesterday, this one here. It does actually have clips big enough, just about, and it's also got a velcro strap down the bottom. and this holds it on. So this is ideal. You will get rucksacks like that, but it's quite difficult to find them. I'll give an example here of a rucksack. This one here. This was one I used on the other bike, and it's very, very good, very vigorous, very robust rucksack. But the hooks here, this hook here where my finger is going through, it's not actually big enough to fit around that big green piping. So I think they need to try and modify that maybe and somehow make it thinner. It does look very well though, and it gives the bike a lot of strength. I understand that. So what else? Yeah, the bike is very, very fast. It's very quick, very comfortable. It's got no rear suspension, but it's compensated by this lovely suspension here in the saddle post, which I highly recommend for anybody to order if your bike happens to have the right diameter tubing for it. Other than that, I think it's very well made, and it has a lot of personality when you're flying across town on it, I have to say. Not just in looks, it turns a lot of heads. It definitely does. The big light is amazing, and but it's proven very, very practical, very, very powerful. I came up a hill today with the front basket loaded with shopping, and I had a rucksack on my back loaded with shopping as well, up a very steep hill. And I came up in paths too, and it was really powerful. There was no problem. So this bike does have other problems, and I talked about them in the other video. It has to do with the propulsion. It's too lively, and it's too hard on the battery in my opinion. But some more trials will find out if it's going to be profitable by riding around in paths too, and that might save the battery. Hopefully it will. The other thing I think is this bike, it needs to have the Shimano socket set at the back, the sprocket set I should say. It's a 7-piece sprocket set, but it only has a 14 tooth to give us fastest gearing. So the pedal out speed of this bike is about 22-23 miles per hour. After that, the pedals are not any longer effective. So if that had a smaller sprocket at the back, then it might actually improve. I think I'm going to replace it with an 11 sprocket when I can get around to it. But for now, I think I probably need no more modifications other than putting in the central console when it arrives here. And that should just allow for some practicality, that's all. And probably will change the appearance. But the bike does look well, I have to say. If you like this green, I do. I like the green and the matching wood at the back, and the brown saddle just happens to be to my liking, but it might not be to yours. But overall a good bike. It costs 15-20 in euros delivered. The shipping was free. So overall I like it, and the center of gravity is very low with the mag wheels. So it's pretty good. It's actually better balanced in some ways than the other bike there, the Shengmi-Lo, the MX-02, because that's got very, very big wheels. So the center of gravity is up very, very high. And if you come into a fast bend or something, you might be caught out a little bit. It's just not as stable maybe as this one here. It's strange because this little bike here is actually 9 pounds heavier than the big one in the background. So it is a heavy bike, and that's the other thing. This bike takes a little bit of getting used to when you're handling it. When you're up driving it, it's a pure joy. But when you stop at traffic lights or whatever and you're maneuvering it maybe into your garden gate or whatever, you forget how heavy it actually is. By the way, I forgot to mention, it's got a fantastic kickstand here, and it's really good. Right, it's touching, it's up. It's really easy to get to, and it's a very, very good kickstand. There it is. And initially when the bike arrived, the kickstand was loose, and I had to insert the little grommet or whatever you call it inside, the little metal thing, the receptacle, and to do that I had to turn the bike completely upside down. It was really a pain to do. But anyway, apart from that, it's a very good kickstand. I have to say I'm delighted with it. So overall, I'm thrilled with the bike. It's very good. It's very impressive. They've done a very, very good job. but there'll be room for little improvements with regards to the transmission, I think, with the gearing and the battery size and so on. So in the coming weeks, I'm hoping to replace this battery temporarily, make a modification of the Shangmilo batteries, the smaller one, slightly smaller, and I will slot into this here. And this means the battery will shed some weight, because this battery is 13.2 pounds in weight. I weighed it, and it's twice as heavy as the MX02 battery, which is a 17 amp hour battery. This is a 20 amp hour battery. So it's twice the weight, and it's only a little bit more powerful in terms of its storage, energy storage. So it's well worth the try, I think, to put in the other battery and see, because it means you'll shed 6 pounds in weight, and it's almost as powerful, and it's much cheaper than to buy this battery as well. I've said in that other video about the batteries that this battery here is an 18650 cells. That's what it's full of. I was hoping to get the 2170 battery with 2170 cells. But anyway, whether that makes a difference or not, really I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see. But anyway, so far so good. It's a very impressive bike to use and to have in almost every way. It's an unusual bike, I think, and it will rival the likes of Radrunner and some of those other cargo bikes. It's a cross between a cargo bike and, I don't know, a general bike. I suppose. I don't know. It's a scooter, I suppose. It's a cross between a cargo bike and a scooter, an electric scooter, but of course it's not. It's very much not a scooter. But I do love the handlebars, and it's addictive to drive around in, to cycle around in, and it's really great fun. Okay, thanks a lot. See ya.